Hey everybody, welcome to WTF Hammer Underworlds. So today I'm going to be continuing the balancing series that I've been working on for a while, this time in Season 3, looking at the Grymwatch, who I recently reviewed, the link to which is in the description below, and in that review I came to the following conclusions about this warband: that they're very resilient in a very general sense. They have either 3 or 4 wound units, and everyone else can be ghoul called, which is nice. However, they can be difficult to inspire. They require that 1 or fewer enemies are in their territory in an end phase, which is not a guarantee. It really depends on the enemy playstyle, although they do have other means to facilitate inspiring, whether it involves pushing enemies out of the territory or using an actual inspire card. They also have amazing movement cards. They have nice upgrades. They can destroy enemy upgrades. They're great at aggression. They're great at positional play, and they can debuff enemies. So I put a WTF here because their gambits are just powerful, as well as their upgrades. And another WTF here is that they have very, very nice objective cards, an amazing array of cards that allow this warband to score passive and active glory. And with all this together, I had ranked this warband as an S, meaning that this warband, like a couple others, needs a nerf. They're a bit too strong. They're higher than the tier that I have been trying to balance other warbands around. So I'm going to give some suggestions as to how Games Workshop could just downgrade them a little bit. Nothing crazy, but just to make them a little bit less generally overpowering. And I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to be recommending some errata, as well as some new faction-specific cards that could be introduced to just generally nerf this warband. Starting with the errata, nothing huge, but I do have some fighter card errata suggestions. Specifically, that Crack Marrow's wound characteristic changed to 3. Right now it's 4. So yeah, just recommend that it gets changed to 3. Justification for this is that there's a few units, few leaders actually. Ilthari, there's Zarbag, there's Thedra. They all have 3 wounds. And 2 of those warbands have fewer units than Grymwatch. So it's not like it would be unprecedented to give him 3 wounds. It also forced Grymwatch to be more careful to protect their leader. They'd have to be a little bit more strategic as to where they place him. They do still have that upgrade that reduces all damage to 2, so we can still get that equipped and survive a hit. But then if that gets tied into knocking him into a lethal hex or something, he'd actually die. So since Crackmare is so important, with his ghoul calls, some of them being free, making him a bit more squishy would force the Grymwatch players to be a bit more careful as to how they use him. And that's actually it for my errata suggestions. So just that Crack Marrow's wound characteristic change to 3. For new faction-specific cards, I'm just going to go over my spiel as to how I recommend Games Workshop introduce them. So in deck building, as I'm sure you all know, you need to make decks that have 12 objectives and then 20 or more power cards, with basically a 50-50 split between Gambit and Upgrade. And Grymwatch have that. They have a play out of the box deck, just like all the Season 3 and then incoming Season 4 warbands will have. So in that sense, we don't really need to make any modifications here, but all my previous balancing videos finished with each warband having 12 objective cards, 11 gambits, and 11 upgrades. So just for the sake of fairness, these guys should have an extra gambit and an extra upgrade as well. And these are my recommendations. Obviously, I don't want anything that is too powerful, but I do want something that is thematic. So for Gambit Card, my first recommendation is just a way to increase their attack accuracy in a not too exceptional sense. And my recommendation is a faction-specific fueled by Fury called The Hunger Prevails, where they can basically play it and then get a reroll on one of the dice. So sort of the lower version of accuracy boosts. Justification is that these guys have no accuracy ploys, although they do have pretty accurate units once inspired, but they don't really have accuracy ploys. So this could kind of fill that gap. And this one's a bit mediocre, so it's not going to buff this warband. I still do want them to basically be nerfed by the time that my recommendations here are finished. And my last recommendation was an upgrade, obviously, a way of supplementing their defense, maybe to counterbalance my recommendations for reducing Crack Marrow's wounds. And I'd recommend a faction-specific disturbing presence called Horrific Odor, where enemy fighters adjacent to this fighter cannot make charge actions, because it would be cool. It would allow you to strategically use your crypt ghouls and other units to sort of pin other units down so that they can't just charge and kill Crack Marrow, who is actually a bit more vulnerable. So it kind of balances things out a little bit, but forces Grymwatch to be a bit more tactical about it. So these guys are also disgusting cannibal monsters, so it fits the theme, but it is not game-changing. So just to reiterate, errata suggestions: just being that Crack Marrow's wound characteristic get reduced to 3. And for new faction-specific cards, I just recommend that these guys get a new Gambit and a new upgrade card so that they match other warbands that I have balanced. A faction-specific Fueled by Fury for the Gambit called The Hunger Prevails, and for the upgrade card, a faction-specific Disturbing Presence called Horrific Odor. And that does it for my recommendations here. So if you guys have any thoughts or suggestions, please comment below. Obviously, like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. And next week, I'm going to be looking into Hrothgorn's Man Trappers. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a nice day.